what we're doing today, we're going to go ahead and pull this harness out. Um, this thing is pretty chewed up, but I can get a harness for about $50 new, a little over $50, probably about $60 with shipping. But the reviews aren't that great on it. I mean, they're all right, but I think I'm going to go ahead and first we'll try splicing this one together. And for now, I'm trying not to spend too much on this thing, trying to just get it working and operational. I've tried the PTO, but I haven't hooked up anything to it. It's possible, we could have an issue with the two-stage clutch, for the PTO side. There could still be lots of things wrong with this thing. So I don't want to operate it too much though without working gauges. So that's my main goal, is to get it working, starting with the key, and get the gauges working. And of course all the neutral safety stuff and all that. So we're gonna just fix this harness. As chewed up as it is, I think we can fix it. We'll just splice it all back together and repair it, and we'll go from there. And if we end up having wiring issues still, then I'll go ahead and buy a harness. But for now, we're just going to splice this thing together. I don't know, we may end up, the wiring on this thing would not be that difficult. I don't know if the generator is going to be any good. If it's not, we'll go with a alternator. They make an alternator that has the proof meter drive on it. So I don't want to put a lot of effort into, without the generator, there's not that many wires on this. We could easily rewire it. You've got an oil sender, you've got a temperature sender, you have your solenoid wire, you have, you would have a wire going to the alternator, a wire going to the bulb that's in the dash for the alternator. And that's mostly it. You're going to have your ignition switch, your hot wire, you'll have your safety switches. There's not much to the wiring on this thing. Gas gauge. What's it got? It's got an oil pressure light. It would be easy to rewire, so is what I'm getting at, if we end up doing away with the regulator and the generator. So for now, we're going to splice it together. So let me pull the harness out, and then we will go from there. And I'm going to leave the wires attached to the gauge, or to the gauge cluster, and we're going to take it in the house. It's looking like rain today, so I'll probably try to get some other stuff done today, and then this will be a good rainy weather project. So, but I'm going to leave it attached to the gauge because some of the wires are still attached where they need to go, and I do have a wiring diagram from it, but it's a scanned copy, so some of it is a little hard to read the wire colors. So we're gonna probably make notes on what's plugged up where, because I would assume it's all connected where it should be. So here's our harness out. There's our plug, and there's our wiring. I'm guessing this is what's left over from the original headlight switch. That would be my assumption, but I'm not positive on that. They had this switch in there, I guess, for headlights, and it was just spliced into this hot wire. So I'm guessing though that this is probably the original wiring. I'm guessing that was for headlights. I don't know. The button's froze up, so I don't know if it's just a push button or if it's all the time on or what. So that's it. Like I said, the wiring under the hood looks pretty good. I don't see any other than this one that have been chewed on, so I think we're in good shape. So we're going to repair this harness At the same time, we'll kind of look at the gauge. Maybe we'll take it apart and see, clean it up inside, maybe make a little needle, or see if we've got one that will fit on there from something else. See if we can get this thing to have working gauges. Working on this and decided to change up a few things. So what I've got, what I was trying to do is just keep as much of the original wiring color as possible, because I don't have the colors that they have, and I don't have a huge assortment of colors either. But there's some of these wires, there's not much left of the original color, and of course the end is gone, so I'm gonna have to splice again. So I think, even though I've gone through and I've spliced these, I might go ahead, and some of these that are just spade terminals on the end, I may just remake those wires all the way from here, and then we've only got one splice instead of what's going to end up being 3 splices. I wasted some butt connectors and some wire by doing it this way and now redoing it, but I think in the long run that's going to be a better solution. Like this ground wire right here, see, there's not much of it left. Where is it? Right here. There's not much of it left, right? It's just a black wire. It comes over to here and plugs in. So if I put a spade terminal here, I can run a new black wire all the way back to here, and we've only got one connection. So I think I'm going to do that, and I think that'll turn out to be a better solution. All right, wiring harness is done. It turned out well. I'll clean all these connectors before I put it back in, and ended up, I just soldered these wires on because they were really short. I didn't want a butt connector that short on that short of a wire. And of course I had to solder this wire on, and the rest are butt connectors, and I just did that just to be quick. They should be just fine. I don't think they'll cause any problems. I wrapped them in tape, and then of course the harness is wrapped too, and all these wires are up under the dash, so they should not get wet or anything like that. So I think we're in good shape. This wire right here, that is for the rear lights, and I just taped it up because I don't have any rear lights on it. That wire wasn't even hooked up to anything. This is the headlight switch. I just taped, or what's left of the headlight switch, I just taped it up because I don't have another headlight switch, and I wanted to leave the wires where they are so I know where it plugs in. So I just left this part of the switch on and just taped it up so it wouldn't contact anything. So here's our ignition switch. I'll clean up all these contacts before I put it back in there. I'll just take them off one at a time, clean it, put it back so I don't get them mixed up, and then we'll clean this up. I didn't even use this wiring diagram. I don't even think it's the right one. I found it online. So the gauge cluster or instrument panel, I had to glue epoxy the needle back on, so I did that, and then I just used some orange paint that I had, just painted the needles, put a couple coats on there, used my use this as a heat gun to dry the paint between coats, just to do it quickly, and it looks decent. I mean, I'm not going for a restoration here. If I was going for a restoration, I'd buy a new instrument panel, I'd buy a new wiring harness. I'm just trying to get this thing functional. So far I haven't spent any money on it other than, of course, the purchase price. So we're going to continue on with that, and you know, try not to spend money on it. So let's it's late now, but tomorrow, if it's not raining, it's supposed to rain all weekend, so if I can catch a break when it's not raining, we'll go put it back in the tractor, see if it works. I'm going to need a few light bulbs. The alternator bulb appears to be good, and the two dash lights are not, and the oil light is not. So we'll get some new bulbs and get this thing all fixed up. Like I said, I don't have a headlight switch, so it doesn't really matter on the two dash lights, but we're going to go ahead and put new ones in it while it's out. Might as well. I got to buy a bulb anyway for the oil light. Maybe the oil light's over here. I don't know. Can't tell. So that's it. And then tomorrow I'll put it back in. Continue then. Got the ignition switch back in it. Gauge cluster's just sitting in it. Need to put some screws in it. But let's turn the key on. And the neutral safety switch is working. I checked it out. Full pressure switch. Full pressure light. Oh, let me I need to do a kill switch. And the fruit meter. Idling at 500. I don't know if the fuel gauge is working. The temp gauge is missing I found where it's supposed to be. Let me, I'll show you in just a minute. Had a loose connection on the generator bulb. The generator is not charging. We're going to have to troubleshoot that. See if we can fix it. If not, we'll swap in an alternator. The temperature gauge, temperature sensor is right. I think this is it right here. And it's just broke off. So we're gonna have to replace that. We'll do that when we do the water pump. So we're gonna have to get one of those and to troubleshoot this thing. I think we're gonna take all the wire connections off and check them really well, clean them. I might drill the rivet out and see if we can clean this up. There's probably a set of points in here and we might be able to clean them and get this thing working again. We'll make that a separate video though. We're done with the wiring, so let's see if we can get the generator working. And of course we desperately need a battery tray.